The fact that they added sports to be a big part of the first 10, 20 minutes of this episode was really pushing the whole agenda that this is our teenage Star Trek drama. What's up, Trekkies? I'm here once again as a non-Trekkie to talk about the latest episode of the Star Trek Starfleet Academy series. Episode 3 aired today over on Paramount Plus. And, last week when I talked about the episodes, the first two episodes, there was some comments about how this is not Star Trek. I think a lot of the diehard Star Trek fans are not seeing this as a Star Trek series. And so I'm assuming that if they did not like the first two episodes of the show, they definitely probably did not like this one, because episode 3 was definitely like Star Trek's version of a teen high school drama. They definitely pushed the teen high school drama aspect out in this episode when we have the characters that we got to know in the first two episodes in this rivalry with the war college next door. And so these two schools kind of have hijinks against each other within this rivalry. I don't know how Star Trek fans overall liked this episode because of that, but even for me, someone who does enjoy soap operas, it was a little on the nose with the whole high school drama aspect of the show. But what I did like with this episode is that it did become more of an ensemble cast. I feel like we got a lot more development of Darem and Genesis in this episode, which I think was needed after the Caleb heavy first two episodes. Not that we didn't get Caleb in this episode, I think we still got good development from him too. So while this was kind of a hit or miss episode overall, I would say, I still enjoyed it because we did get to build the characters more here. Let's talk about Darem and Genesis first, because they did have a lot of screen time within this episode. We got to know Darren more and about his family and how he's trying to follow everything they taught him. His parents definitely seem to push him to be the best at everything, to be so good at everything. And we see him talking to them while working out very hard. But he can't believe it when he runs into Genesis, who woke up earlier than him to work out. And that kind of built this a little bit of a rivalry in this episode, where Genesis wants to be a leader, but obviously Harem has been pushed by his parents to be a leader. This is when the war college gang starts to come in here, and they start to kind of really mess with our main characters. I did like the war college kids. They were pretty nasty. They were kind of like a gang. I know one of them was a Vulcan, which is one of few Star Trek things that I do know. So that was good, I guess, cool to see. But I like that the whole thing when they were beaming Caleb and them to different places, even though they were all in their swimsuits or just have towels, to really kind of heat up the rivalry and kind of humiliate Caleb and Harem and Genesis and them. That started off their feuding, but I feel like the feuding kind of got less interesting from there. But I am wondering if we will get back to these war college kids, if they will be small antagonists among the season, because we didn't have our big villain in this season. Paul Giamatti did not appear in this episode. He did not appear in this episode. So we had this kind of little antagonist from the war college kids. I do like some good antagonists, and I do feel like they can become a bigger part of the show in the future. But this episode did add them to be a part of the supporting cast, which I think helps the show overall to continue to give us more of a supporting cast. The characters of Jet and Lurathok, if I'm pronouncing that right, did get a lot of play in this episode. They were the main instructors who were kind of hands-on with the kids during this whole little rivalry thing. They are like kind of their main teachers with the sporting hijinks that we got. The fact that they added sports to be a big part of the first 10-20 minutes of this episode was really pushing the whole agenda that this is our teenage Star Trek drama, because having sports be a part of it, the jocks and everything, I really feel like Harem and Caleb and Genesis are really kind of different variations of the jock stereotype. I guess Caleb a little more. He's kind of our typical loner of the group, which is what his story was all about today. So that was kind of the main plot, was this gang of misfits from the war college kind of having this rivalry with our main characters. But they were also able to already pull back Tarima, who we saw in the first or second episode, who ended up going to the war college instead of Starfleet Academy. And we got to see her be a part of this rivalry, and we got to see her and Caleb's relationship continue to develop. I liked when Caleb told her that he thought there was this energy or some kind of energy between he and Tarima was trying to play that off. But then later in the episode, Tarima is, of course, the one that really gets through to Caleb during the whole rivalry games. And she called him out on how he's really trying to not get close to these people at Starfleet Academy. He's putting up this wall so that they don't get close to him, but she saw in Caleb that this was the first time he felt like he was a part of a group and that he liked it, but he's afraid that they'll let him down, which is real for his backstory of not growing up with his mother and being this loner, and now he can't find his mother again. He's used to being let down from people, so he's already assuming that the Starfleet Academy kids that he's starting to get closer to will let him down. And I'm glad that Tarima is the one to point that out for him, because it helps their relationship grow. And then Darem and Genesis have their own relationship making when Darem gives Genesis the leader role, and they make peace. And Darem basically in this episode has to face that his parents are not good people. They are basically assholes, and they have pushed him, always telling him this saying that you're either the center of the universe or you're nothing. And so now he is learning that maybe he doesn't have to be the best at everything, and he is able to form these connections with his peers at the school. It's also showing us that even though Harem and Caleb were raised very differently, with Caleb not having anyone to raise him and just being a loner, and Darem having his parents but being pushed so hard by them, they both, despite being kind of rivals right now on the show, have the same thing going for them, that they are struggling to make bonds with other people at the school because of the way they were raised. I like that we dealt with all of that in this episode. So on a character level, I thought they did a really good job with the character development. On a plot level, it did get a little basic. It was really basic high school drama, even though they're supposed to be in college, so I guess college drama. But it was very high school to me. So some of it kind of fell flat and wasn't as fun as they were trying to make it. But I think the show probably needed an episode like this to really show us what kind of Star Trek show it's going to be. It's not going to be the typical Star Trek show. This is about the younger people at a Starfleet Academy, and they're going to have younger people problems. I still think a lot of the old head Star Trek fans are probably not enjoying this episode if they didn't already enjoy the first two. For me, who doesn't watch a lot of Star Trek, it's enjoyable enough to keep continuing. I don't think it's great by any means, but I don't think it's bad either. So I'm saying for now that it's good enough for me to continue watching.